Out of Richmond's worst tunnel disaster crawled its most infamous monster. Witnesses swore they saw it, pale, blood-soaked and fanged, clawing its way out of the rubble. Some chased it through the night, following the sound of ragged breathing, until it vanished into a tomb at Hollywood Cemetery. Since then, Richmond's never forgotten the creature that escaped the earth that day, the thing people now call the Richmond Vampire. But what if this monster wasn't supernatural at all, just a man, broken and buried alive, whose tragedy became a legend? Acta. The tunnel that should have stayed closed. It started with progress, or what was supposed to be progress. The Church Hill Tunnel, built in the 1870s beneath Richmond, Virginia, was an engineering marvel of its time. Nearly 4,000 feet of brick and clay cutting under the city. But the earth beneath Richmond was treacherous, soft, shifting, soaked with water. From the very beginning, the tunnel leaked, cracked, and buckled. Workers called it cursed. For decades, trains used the tunnel anyway, even after reports of strange groans and shifting walls. By 1902, the city abandoned it, too unstable to risk. But in 1925, someone decided to dig it up again. Why? Because progress had caught up. Larger trains, heavier engines, more cargo. And Richmond wanted to move with the times. When workers reopened the tunnel, the air inside was thick and stale. The walls dripped like they were bleeding mud. Old supports had rotted. Timbers cracked under the first vibrations of the new steam engine. It was a powder keg of pressure, and nobody wanted to believe it. Act 2. The Collapse. 3:06 hours, October 2nd, 1925. It's just after lunch. The crew's inside the tunnel, reinforcing the old bricks. A locomotive, engine 231, begins moving forward slowly, testing the old track. Then, it happens. A deep groan, like the earth itself exhaling. Then the sound of tearing wood, the screech of collapsing stone. In an instant, the tunnel implodes. 20 men are trapped. The air fills with smoke, dust, and screams. Eyewitnesses above ground said the ground rippled. They ran toward the entrance as the tunnel's mouth heaved out a wave of dirt and debris, and then went still. Moments later, someone crawled out of that darkness. A man, or something that looked like one, covered in blood and gray dust, skin torn, flesh mangled, and his teeth. His teeth looked sharp, red. The first witnesses didn't think survivor. They thought monster. They swore he looked inhuman. His lips shredded, his eyes glowing from the torchlight. And when they shouted, he ran. Straight toward Hollywood Cemetery. Act 3. The Monster in the Mausoleum. 6:09 abs. They chased him. Imagine that, a crowd of terrified bystanders chasing what they believed was a blood-drinking creature through Richmond streets. The figure staggered, leaving streaks of red on the cobblestones. He crossed the fence of Hollywood Cemetery, a gothic labyrinth of marble angels and black iron gates. If you like dark legends born from real history, make sure you subscribe. We go deeper into the stories that refuse to stay buried. And then, he disappeared. Right into the mausoleum of W. Poole, a stone crypt rumored to have strange markings carved into it. No one dared follow. By morning, the story had spread. The Richmond Vampire had escaped from the Church Hill Tunnel collapse and returned to its tomb. For decades, people claimed the vampire still lived there, resting in the crypt by day, haunting Church Hill by night, and that the collapse had been no accident, but punishment for disturbing its sleep. Psychological pause. The human brain hates loose ends, so when it can't find closure, it writes its own myth. Act 4. The Human Behind the Monster. 9/012 nas. Years later, researchers dug into the records, and what they found wasn't a vampire, but a name, Benjamin Mosby. Mosby was a fireman for the railroad, the man who fueled Engine 231 on the day it collapsed. He was right there when the tunnel gave way. When rescuers reached the entrance, Mosby stumbled out, his clothes burned off, his skin torn from his body and his face badly injured. He wasn't undead. He was dying. He was taken to Grace Hospital where he passed away soon after. The description of his injuries, skin hanging from his face, blood on his mouth, teeth exposed, matches every vampire sighting that night. Soft tone. In their panic, witnesses had seen horror and made it supernatural. It's what psychologists call apophenia, the mind's desperate need to find meaning in chaos. When something is too awful to face, we turn it into a story. It's easier to believe in a vampire than in human suffering. Act V. Legend never dies. Even after Mosby's story came out, the legend refused to die. Tour guides still point to the W.W. Pool Mausoleum, whispering that the vampire sleeps inside. Local ghost hunters claim cold spots around the crypt. And the city still warns curious teens not to sneak in after dark. Why? Because legends don't depend on facts. They depend on emotion. And this one has all the right ingredients: death, mystery, and a monster you can visit. Richmond has embraced its vampire. There are t-shirts, haunted tours, even Halloween events inspired by the 1925 disaster. But beneath the myth lies a real tragedy, and a reminder of how fear shapes memory. When the world collapses around us, sometimes the only way to process it is to create something darker than the truth. Ending twist. Theory. 1630. There's one last eerie detail. When historians inspected the mausoleum of W.W. Poole, the one blamed for housing the vampire, they found strange symbols carved into the stone. Masonic imagery, Greek letters, even references to resurrection and eternal life. They were normal for the time. But when the legend spread, people saw them as proof. Whispered. And maybe that's the real curse of the Richmond Vampire. Not the creature itself, but our need to believe in it. Because sometimes, the stories we create outlive the truth that inspired them.